you have all these happenings, right? People are legit speculating that he's being possessed by Sonichu himself. And, everyone else is talking about that, and well-deserved, right? I'm a little bit late to the party. I've been busy, but, it's time, okay? Let's do things a little bit differently, right? Let's predict the future of Nick Rekieta, okay? 2024 predictions, where do we see Nick Rekieta 1 year from now? Where exactly is he going to be? In a worse place than he is now, right? I have seen no course correction. I have seen no improvement. I've seen Nick Rekieta half-heartedly do this thing I'm going to be sober in January, and then slide back and try to say that I only said that I would do sober streams. Really? The fact that he's doing that, that's legit beyond what the nonsense I pull with my eating habits, how I try to convince people that I'm eating healthy when obviously I'm not. I swear I'm losing weight, guys. I swear. It's like that. It is sheer unadulterated copium, right? It is completely out of sync with reality, right? He is not going to stop drinking. It's going to get worse, and it is going to impact everything about his personal life, right? His friends are going to question him. His family is going to become more and more antagonistic, and I think eventually it is going to cause problems with his family, right? And I do think that's the big thing that's happening now, is that we are seeing fractures in the Rekieta family, right? I'm sure there's issues with the kids and stuff like that, with the extended family. He's talked about those people in that living in that other house he owns in Minnesota. Yeah, this guy owns 2 houses in the area. Yeah, he's going to try to tell you that he's not a trust fund baby. This guy, is having all these problems with his extended family. What I think is going to happen in 2024 is that there is going to be more problems with his wife, right? I don't want to come out and say that this is 100% the year that she's going to leave him, but I do think it's going to be I think it's very evident that this has to be, she is considering it. I would be shocked if she wasn't already considering leaving this marriage, because it's just it's so insane to see these completely depraved, degenerate individuals try and LARP as if they have a completely normal, healthy relationship, because they obviously don't, right? I know a lot of people have this idea that Kayla is an innocent kind of naive bystander in all of this, but I don't think so. I think a big reason why she stuck around so long is that she is as big of a degenerate as Nick and Drexel are, right? The only difference between her and the rest is that she doesn't make appearances on camera. And the reason she doesn't do that is that every time she does, people start seeing how obviously insane she is. With the way she acts, the way she talks, the pills, the way she behaved on the locals chat, the massage story. Every time she makes an appearance, she embarrasses Nick, right? Andy Worski was molested by her, apparently. He's what, 10 years younger than her? I don't know the whole story with that. I don't know what's going on, but Kayla is a degenerate, right? And in a way, I think because of all the baggage she has, being married to Nick so long, having 5 kids with him, potentially not being able to get anything out of him because of the trust fund and how that thing is set up. There might be real financial reasons why she can't just up and leave, right? Even if she's already getting blacked by other people, right? Maybe there is just. It feels to me as if Nick is in a position where he can just kind of let her do whatever she wants, and there's no real reason for her to leave, or at least there was. But Nick is becoming so and so antagonistic to everyone around him, most particularly her family, that there has to be a very real pressure for her to leave, right? Like we have to be in that stage now where like she's considering it. It may not happen this year, but like I am at the point where I am 100% convinced it is going to happen at some point. And I do think a major like thing for a reason for it is the fact that they're both going to realize that they're not young anymore and that they're never ever going to like relive their college years ever again, and suddenly like their entire like sex fueled relationship, their obsession with like degeneracy, it just kind of falls apart because like what do they have after that, other than that, right? When you look at them, like when you look at how they act, how they treat each other, like what do they have in common? What do they bond over? What do they do together, right? Like I think you would hear a lot more about like things they do together, and like it's weird how their primary bonding method seems to be like being degenerates, right? But there is no overlap in like the things they do. They don't seem interested in their kids. It's like it is a purely depraved, degenerate relationship that is not going to last, right? Eventually, I think there's going to be like lines crossed. I think Nick has crossed them already with like the whole Mandy thing and like, like openly advocating for like, oh man, I wish I wasn't married. Like this kind of talk is, I think, gonna get his ass dumped. And honestly, like it's hard to find fault with Kayla if that happens. Like Drexel and Nick always bang on about like, and people like Rage and Golden Eagle, like they always talk about like, oh man, the courts, they favor women. Oh these poor men getting victimized by the legal system. But then like you kind of look at like the other perspective where you see situations like this where you're like seeing Nick like being verbally abusive, being neglectful, being who he is, right? Like you see this happen, and like is he not the problem in this situation? Like, even if Kayla is like complicit with like the degeneracy, right? Like, she has every right to leave the relationship. I think. Like, I would actually think that's probably for the best because they're kind of enabling each other's worst impulses, right? Like, it's like they've never had to grow up past the college years. It's really weird. Like the only thing that's really causing like the entire thing to collapse is just the fact that they're older now and they're just like completely like they don't have anything hold it like binding them together other than like their mutual love of sex. It's like it's disgusting, honestly. Like again, I both think they're disgusting people, but like I am supportive of the idea of Kayla leaving, right? So, after Kayla leaves, right, that will be a huge thing for the downfall of Nick Rekieta. Because, like, no longer can he LARP as if, like, he's in this monogamous relationship. No longer can he LARP as if, like, he's this happily married guy. No longer can he, like, pass himself off as this, like, super successful person, someone that, like, incels can look up to, or like like a beacon of morality or whatever. Like the last bastion of like normalcy is gone, right? So he's going to like double down on like the degeneracy, right? He's going to like try and blame Kayla for the way things turned out. Like he's going to turn to Drexel for copium. You're going to see Drexel at some point like publicly like announce that like, oh, I never liked her, anyway. Like he said that on streams, by the way, that he like specifically told Nick not to marry her or take her seriously or something back in college, right? Like he's going to try to say, oh, I was right about her all along. Never get married, like no real responsibility will be taken, right? Like nobody will take accountability. Nobody will admit that like being in open relationships or being a degenerate does not work. Like everybody involved in like the Rekieta Law show, like Dax, Drexel, Kumalai, like they're all gonna like try and put the blame on Kayla, right? And they're gonna try and keep doing what they're doing, right? You're gonna see like Rekieta, like, oh, now that I'm happily single, I can go out the clubs like I wanted to. I can have sex with my female fans, all of my female fans, and like these people are all dudes, so that's not gonna happen. So like he's gonna go out with like Drexel and like Dax. They're gonna like go to clubs together, and like there's gonna be like this sinking realization that like the degenerate lifestyle that like Nick has always envisioned is not real. Like it's simply not obtainable. Like his ideal lifestyle of like living like he's some billionaire porn star, right? Like that that he has the money to just pull whoever he wants. Like that isn't real, right? Like Nick seems to have this weird misconception that like Drexel and Dax are living this like amazing lifestyle because they're not bogged down by family. But it's not really true, right? And that's like obviously not true if you really look into like what Dax and Drexel's personal lives are actually like. You know, I imagine Kuma a lot as well, but I don't know enough about him. Like Nick like really thinks they're like these guys are going out like just having sex with like 10 out of 10s like every weekend or something, you know, just having like an amazing time living like the Chad lifestyle, right? That's totally real and not made up at all, right? Like he thinks they're like having such great amazing sex and that it's like it's totally gonna make his life better, and then like the reality sets in, you know. These guys are like banging land whales. They're banging chicks in their 30s and 40s. They're banging like used goods, right? They're like these guys were never like the highly successful people that their personas led us all to believe, right? And then like Nick is gonna find that like he can't even manage that, right? His personal problems are so great, are so like massive that like nobody will like ever put up with his nonsense again. You know, Kayla, I think a lot of people don't acknowledge this, but like Kayla is like remarkably accepting of his lifestyle decisions. Like, is any normal, like reasonable, like 20-year-old chick like ever going to go for Rekieta? Right? Like are like chicks gonna like see his YouTube channel and just immediately just drop their panties right in the club in front of everyone? Like is that gonna happen? Like ever? No, of course not. You know, like Nick doesn't have the ability to pull the pussy that he thinks he deserves, right? Like he is never going to live that like a porno lifestyle that he thinks Dax and Drexel lives every day. And that is going to lead to a depression, right? Kayla leaving him, presumably taking the kids, and then like you know the whole channel declining, like his channel is just going to like become less and less relevant. He is going to become a joke like in the next 5 years, probably as early as next year. Like you're going to see like people, you know, big major YouTubers doing documentaries on this guy, you know, his meteoric rise and like honestly his like unprecedented fall. Like have you ever seen a YouTuber collapse the way he did, right, this quickly? Like, I don't even think Wings of Redemption or Boogie have done this. Like, their downfalls took a period of years, but Rekieta managed it in, like, realistically, like, two. Like, I dropped him in, like, 2019 or 2020 or whatever, right? Like, I saw the signs way ahead of time, but, like, and I'm sure there are others like me, but, like, most people didn't catch on until, like, the last couple of years, right? And it's been, like, nothing but a downward spiral since. This guy is going to be plastered on every single website, on YouTube, on Reddit, on 4chan. This guy is going to be the face of like incompetent internet lawyers. And first of all, this is going to like destroy LobTube because like people will know like what the stereotypes are when it comes to these people, how they don't actually practice, how they're grifters, how like nobody should take them seriously. And that is true, right? Like this guy like single-handedly killed the LawTube industry, right? That's kind of based honestly because like none of these people were worth anything. But um like is someone that infamous like ever going to pull like any chick, right? Like this guy is going to be one of the most hated people on the internet for a good long while because of all the crazy nonsense he pulled. He is going to be the worst kind of infamous, right? It's going to be a disaster. Okay, it is going to be completely impossible for anyone to take this guy seriously. Anybody who knows anything about him, you know, like he won't be able to lie about his like law practice because he shut it down. He's not going to be able to lie about his career or like any of his accomplishments or like anything. Like it's all like out there, easily discoverable, right? And assuming Kayla does manage to take his wealth, right, does manage to get into like the family fund and like take the trust fund and like dip into the YouTube money, like this guy is going to have like no method of income and he's not even going to have it as inheritance, right? I'm sure like Um, I would hope that his grandparents like write him out of the will and like leave the money to the kids instead. I don't know how like viable that is. I don't know what like how that would work, but like I do hope that's what happens at this point. So okay, with that in mind, the big thing I think that's really gonna crush him for good is Monograph, right? Like I do 100% expect that he will lose this lawsuit. And I do think that is going to be like the major thing that kind of sets all like everything I said before in motion. Like, because this should have been a slam dunk case, like for Rekieta. Well, like, slam dunk. Like, basically all he had to do was just like not run his mouth, hire an attorney, and just kind of deal with it behind the scenes. But like, the ridiculous way he handled it, the way he like talks so much trash about the opposing counsel and like Monograph himself and like a lot of people like unaffiliated with the case, like more and more it really does feel as if like this guy isn't capable of handling a case, right? Like it feels like it isn't possible for this guy to conduct himself through legal proceedings. Like, if he can't handle his own case effectively, if he can't simply shut up and let like Mark Randazza, the best defamation lawyer on the in the country, I believe, uh, if you can't even like, if you can't even win a case like this, you are never, ever going to go back into law, right? You're not going to be hired by any other attorneys. You're not going to start up your online practice. Like, people would have to be insane to go to you for legal advice, right? Like, I would already say that when it comes to like the YouTube show and like what you're doing now, but like, after you lose Monograph, after you lose that case, like, it's over. There is no recovery from that. That is going to be a complete major destroy factor in like in the destruction of Nick Rekieta. I think is losing that case because like it should have been so easy, right? Like there is no justification for how he conducted himself through all of that. Like it was just him genuinely believing that he was invincible, right? Like he really thought that like the money would keep rolling in no matter what, that people would like rally to his defense in like against Monograph, but like his conduct, his behavior, the way he acted, the things he was saying, like it all leads to the situation in which like um he just had such a massive L, it's impossible to like compromise that. Like Nick Rekieta very well might be the single worst lawyer on the planet, right? Like I can't imagine someone like dropping the ball so hard on like a situation like this. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like all he did like going into this was like just scream like free speech into a microphone without really like taking into account like the crazy, insane accusations he was saying. You know, accusing someone of being a pedophile is a big deal. That is like, that could be like life destroying stuff. Like that could be a life destroying thing, right? Like you can't just go out and say that, right? And Nick did. Like he really did that to his massive audience, and I think in a lot of ways, Monograph is completely justified in going after Nick. Like I've been pro Monograph, I think since the beginning, fairly early on, since I heard of the case, I think, and like nothing I've seen since has really changed my mind. If anything, like I think it's very important for Monograph to win because like it kind of establishes that these YouTube lawyers, like these internet people who like think they can just say and do whatever they want are not above like repercussions for like legitimately trying to ruin someone's life. I don't care about like who Monograph is. I don't care what he's like. I don't care about like, you know, the movie he made or anything or any of his like tendencies. Like, no, you don't just call someone a criminal without like any real justification. Like that was legit like a disgusting thing to do on Nick's part. And it's far from the only thing he's done that's like reprehensible. Like the whole diaper fetishes thing comes to mind. Like there are all these things that like Nick Rekieta has done that I just find like downright deplorable. Like he is a downright terrible person, right? Like I genuinely think that at this point. And looking at like the future of Nick Rekieta, like this is like the prediction. Okay, this is my like legit honest take, and it depresses me so much to say this because like I am not looking forward to this at all. Like this is gonna be it's gonna get worse. Like as bad as things are now, like as grim as as the situation looks for the family, for Nick himself, right? He's gonna drink himself into a grave. The kids are gonna be without their father at a critical time in their lives. Kayla might struggle like being a single mother. She has no work history, she has nothing. Like you have like all the other extended family members, the people living in his other house, his parents, like you have all these people like that he's just completely giving up on because like it's too hard to um to just talk about legal topics on the internet, right? Like, oh, I gotta take another drink because I deserve it. I know this is water, but like I'm doing my best Nick Rekieta impersonation. Like, oh, I gotta take another drink because I deserve it. Like, no, it's like no, it's this was completely unacceptable. Okay, I think Nick Rekieta's rise to prominence, he really gaslit his entire demographic that he was like some attorney, some base YouTube attorney who was like telling it how it is and was like speaking out against degeneracy and like the government and all this stuff and like it's in a lot of ways I do think the major takeaway from this I don't expect YouTubers to fight your battles for you. Like, don't trust lawyers. Don't trust people who like tell you they have your best interest at heart. Like, I think, um, I think people need to be a lot more discerning, myself included, about like the content they consume online and what they can like realistically expect from a YouTube content creator. Like because people really thought this guy was a legit professional who knew what he was talking about, and in 2024, that could not be more obviously far from the truth.